I haere ai he nare, ne tō iwi, patu ki te pakanga, parani hiraia. Oi he morehu, hei kau e kōrero, ki te iwi nui e taukurine.
That is the beautiful voice of baritone Kawiti Whitefoot. He's performing Saraparana Ngāta's song Te Ope Tuatahi, written to inspire young Māori to fight in the Great War. Kia ora, New Zealand, good morning and welcome to News Talk ZB. I'm Jack Tame. It's 100 years since the Battle of the Somme, the bloodiest battle of World War I and New Zealand's first major engagement on the Western Front. 15,000 members of the New Zealand Division went into action at the Battle of the Somme. Our infantry were there for 23 days, the artillery for 52 days. In that short time, they suffered nearly 8,000 casualties. More than 50% of the division were either wounded or killed. In total, the Somme caused 1.2 million casualties. Dame Kiri Te Kanawa travelled to Somme in northern France to reflect on the sacrifice New Zealand soldiers made, and in particular, those of the Māori battalion. Her journey has been made into a documentary which will screen on Maori TV this Anzac Day. Dame Kiri is with us. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate it, and thank you for an incredible film. I was honestly really moved watching it. It's a very powerful story. And but what inspired you to become involved?
Well, the thing is, it was the inspiration of the director and those people. That's the inspiration. I mean, I've loved all of that, and I'm very much intrigued by history, and especially our own history. But the thing is, I didn't do it. It was done for Maori television, you have to understand.
Yeah.
If I'd headed it, would be a different thing, but I didn't. But of course, I was very, very thrilled to be involved.
Yeah, it's a poignant story, and a story I think a lot of New Zealanders will identify with, or certainly identify with parts of. Do you just want to give our listeners just a little bit of a background? It's the story of Lieutenant Henare Kohere.
Yes, it is a story of him. He of course, was, he wasn't young, so he left his wife had died, and he left his 3 children in the care of his family, and headed off. And now, as you know, they were not necessarily encouraged. The Maori were not necessarily encouraged to go and fight, as they believed that that brown men, whatever, could not fight white men, which I think I've read in the books. And it wasn't done. And then, of course, for New Zealand to be more accepted by the so-called empire, so they went and supported Britain to be accepted, so-called, into the empire. Now, of course, we're Commonwealth. So that was part of the reasons why they went. And then Henare Kohere also encouraged young Maori to come eventually, and many did, of course.
It was a question of identity for many Māori in World War I, wasn't it? I mean, it was an opportunity in their eyes, at least, to be considered equal.
Yes, in lots of ways. I think in lots of ways, I've heard on other battles and other ethnic people being asked to come and join and being promised many things, but not given those things. You know, they thought they would be, but that's another story. But in our particular case, it was to be, to have some ratings and standing for our country as well, and they're fighting for our country. But it wasn't sort of a given that they would come to fight this war.
Yeah, I know many of the Māori soldiers who were recruited to fight in the Somme were from Ngāti Porou, from the East Coast, from Gisborne. How did the Somme affect those communities, those tribes, and the dreadful slaughter? How did that affect the people there?
Well, I suppose that, like everybody, these young men, thousands and thousands died on the first day. But I suppose they died with pride and for their country and for their people. And they still, of course, now celebrate those deaths. I mean, we visited all those graves, and still family members, after 100 years, are still coming to visit those graves and leave little tributes, little flowers, little messages, beautiful things. I mean, it was a very, very emotional 7 days for both Kawati and myself. We had many tears there for what was lost, and the devastation and why those young men went, and the bravery and what they did, especially the Pioneer Battalion, who dug all the trenches to make sure that they had some sort of communication.
Yeah, do you just want to give us a bit more information about Kawati? He's one of your students. He's a very, very talented young man.
Yes. Well, he's a young boy from up north. He's a very, very talented young boy, as you can see. And because he was here with me, we thought it would be a good idea to bring him, as he spoke beautiful Maori. And he's very much more a Maori boy than a white boy, if you know what I mean. And he I think he assisted beautifully. It helped me a lot because I don't speak Maori, and I in some ways felt very inadequate when I saw him, and so that we gave him the chance to also represent our Maori people, which was, I think, a wonderful tribute.
I think it was interesting too, wasn't it, seeing the history of the Somme through his eyes, given that at 25 years old, he would have actually been older than many of the Māori soldiers who came over to fight and died in World War One.
Absolutely, and he kept on recalling things, recounting things like, oh my God, this person was so young, and he was relating to all the deaths and the families who would be left behind, and those who they couldn't find them, they couldn't find the bodies, and he knows it from his own whānau that they would be devastated if they never saw him again. And this sort of thing happened time and time again in the families and devastated the families. But the thing is, we still celebrate it, and there's a somberness of the area, but also there's a beauty because it is so celebrated and the people are never forgotten. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. You're so right about the beauty, and yes. Kawati performs Sarapara Ngāta's song Te Ope Tuatahi, which was written to inspire young Māori in New Zealand to sign up and fight in World War One. I mean, the nature of the song is very somber, but at the same time, when he's performing it in the Somme, it's beautiful.
But it's very interesting because when he first started to sing the song, I said, Kawati, this is actually very sad situation here. And of course, as he went into the days there and he came out at the end, he said, oh God, I need to record that song again because I didn't realize how devastating it is and how it affected us so much. I'm not sure if he did, but I know he understood more after those 7 days of being over there in France and those places. It was a very somber time, but yet we didn't take it on so much. We took it on that it was joyous, if you know what I mean. We wanted to celebrate as well.
Yeah. So how did you find the overall experience, the week you spent in the Somme? Obviously, you spent time in that part of the world before, but was it something that affected you profoundly? Or?
Yes, it did affect, but it always has. I mean, I've been to Gallipoli twice, and that is very affecting as well. And now, of course, the Somme, I'd always meant to go to the Somme. I'd driven through enough times, but to actually go and find the graves of those people that we were looking for was quite wonderful. And reading all the tributes that had just been left days before and things like that. So it was an experience that I'd like to go back again because I found it quite, I don't know, I just thought it was wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
And how important do you think it is for younger New Zealanders to be familiar with this part of our history?
Well, because I think, luckily, we celebrate it each year. Everything about it is about the Anzacs, the journey of a lifetime when they were all leaving way back there, 100 years ago. And it still is the journey of a lifetime. The young people are still doing it. They're still going with their backpacks to Gallipoli. They're still going to visit. You see all these young people. And thank goodness, they haven't forgotten.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it?
Let them forget. I think the older generation doesn't let them forget.
I think there's been almost a resurgence. That's probably not the right word, but almost a resurgence in the appreciation.
No, I think that's
for the Anzac sacrifice. Yeah.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. I think there is a resurgence, and it becomes all more and more, and I think this will bring it more sort of to us again, because the young people will watch it. I think they're all there at all those cenotaphs all over New Zealand on the day of the Anzac Day. They're all there.
Yeah. There's a moment that you and Kapiti singing Poata Rau, Now Is the Hour, is just gorgeous. What do you see for Kawiti's future?
Oh, that's always in the lap of the gods. I always want the very best for them. It is always a matter of wait and see, really, and not to wait. We've got another Maori boy who's covering a major role at the Covent Garden Opera House, Philip Rhodes, who is doing extremely well. So you always hope that leader will have his followers as well. So, I'm hoping that Kawiti will do extremely well.
Yeah. I know you've...
In whatever he chooses, actually. You never know. There's so many... These young people have so many talents that you hope they will choose something and go for it.
Yeah. I know you've been home just over the last couple of months. How was your trip to New Zealand?
Oh, it was lovely. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was lovely going to all the towns, the little towns I haven't really been to before, and seeing the warmth of the people, and just visiting my New Zealand and reconnecting with it. Part of it that I just absolutely love. It was a really, really happy time. I
know so many people, at home were just delighted to have you there, who swell with an enormous amount of pride when they consider your success overseas. Yeah. So it must have been nice to be able to connect with those people.
It is, and something that the New Zealand, they say, it's way back, and it's sort of, we haven't caught up with the real world. Well, I hope we don't. It is so beautiful. I just loved every minute of it. There were things that have been sitting there like car parking meters that you put a coin in and you turn it. You don't have to go on your mobile and find how to park the damn car. There's a meter there that takes the money. No one's going to slice it off. It's still wonderful.
Yeah. But how regularly would you get back these days?
Oh, that was twice so far. I went for Christmas and then this time, and now I'll be out back in September, October. And the rest will be following. So I'll be going at least 2 to 3 times a year.
And do you always get a little bit of fishing in?
Oh, yes. So this last time I didn't, but next time I will, hopefully. We just had a few problems with the weather. It wasn't ideal.
Well, look, I really hope New Zealanders are able to watch the film, because it is poignant, but it's also very important. And like you say, there are moments of true beauty in it. And I personally really enjoyed it.
Yes, this is only one story. This is only one small part of the jigsaw puzzle. There are thousands like this. That's the sad thing. There are many, and I wish we could do all of them. And there are so many amazing people who put their lives up there for all of us. That's why we could have this life. We have to appreciate that.
Well, Dame Kiri, we know how busy you are, and we really appreciate your time this morning. That is New Zealand's legendary soprano, Dame Kiri Te Kanawa. Sacrifice on the Somme is exclusively on Māori TV at 8 o'clock on Anzac Day morning.